Welcome back to my channel, Scrap and Coffee. We are here with a tutorial for a project that I shared earlier, which was actually this version. So these are two of the same projects. This was the one that I made originally, and I made a tutorial where I've created this one. So this is the video for the tutorial where we are going to create the base, and I probably make a separate video with some of the decorating tips, or show you what I did with some of the decorating separately. So I'll just show you quickly this project before we get into it, and then we'll start with a tutorial where I will have to use a voiceover to because I'm filming mostly in the evening. So and my husband is next door working and talking a lot, so that doesn't really work to make videos at the same time, but that's the time that I have to make videos. So basically I've made some slight changes to the original project, for example, to make it more obvious that you have to pull this way, and to make sure that that last piece can flip over the box. And if you haven't seen the project share yet of the original piece, I will try to put a little link there on top so you can click it and see the original one as well. So I've been using some dies to cut out photo mats, and I've been using vellum to just give that extra bit of layer. And you will see, I'm not sure if you will see it actually in the video, but what decorating wise, it always takes me a little bit of time to find my what do I want to go for? What is the look and the feel that I want to go for? But once I'm there, then it's really easy to work. Because when I started with decorating this piece, I was actually really doubting if I liked the paper collection. But once I got that feel and found what I wanted to go for, it became really, really easy, and it came together really quickly. And I really love how this turned out. So I decided to put some photos of my daughter in here. So I've used really all these different sizes of photo mats with some die sets that I will show you in the decorating video, because I don't mind having to cut down my photos. You know, I'm confident that I'm able to do that, so for me that doesn't matter. But if you are wanting to use more standard size photos, 4x4s and 3x4s will definitely fit on here, so you can do that as well, right? So this is what it turned out to be, and we will go straight into the the construction tutorial for this version of the project. So I hope you enjoy it.
We will start constructing the box. Since the base and the lid are constructed in exactly the same manner, I will only show you this process on the base. I have already prepared the lid. For the lid, however, you will need to cut one piece of chipboard that measures 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And 4 pieces that measure 7/8 inch by 4 9/16 inches, which is basically one tick mark above 4.5 inches on your trimmer. For the base, you need to cut one piece of chipboard that measures 4.25 inches by 4.25 inches. And 4 pieces that measure 1 inch by 4 5/16 inches, which is one tick mark above 4.25 inches. I will use tape to construct my box. What I have here is Pro Artist tape, which I really like. Other options are masking tape. These will have more of a paper and matte finish to them. Or if you don't have tape, you can use cardstock strips that you cut to 1 inch and score down the middle. Keep in mind that cardstock will give more bulk, so you might want to add 1/8 inch to the measurements of your lid to provide space for that bulk. I will roll out a part of the tape and place this flat on my work surface with the sticky side facing me. I will combine the tape with some wet glue. This makes sure that the chipboard pieces are permanently adhered together. I'm going to place the large piece of chipboard halfway on top of the tape, and cut off any excess on the side. Next, I'm going to pick up a side piece and apply some wet glue along one long side, right at the bottom. This piece I will bump against the base piece so the glue will touch the side of the base piece. I will make sure that it's aligned on one side. Now I will use a bone folder. One with an angled edge is useful for getting under the tape. Using this bone folder, I will lift up the tape and fold it over the edge. While doing this, I make sure to push the two pieces of chipboard tight together. If you line up the one side, you will notice that the side piece is sticking out on the other side. This is what we want. I can now start repeating my steps for the next side. This will be the side where the piece is sticking out. On this side piece, I will again place my wet glue along one long side at the bottom. I will also place glue on the outer edge of the right-hand-sided short side. This is to make sure the two side pieces are also adhered together. When placing your piece, make sure you have a nice tight connection with the first side piece. Again, your piece should then stick out on the other side. When you are happy with your alignment, you again use your bone folder to fold over the tape. This exact process you will follow for your third piece. Now for my final piece, I again apply glue along the long side and the outer right side. This time I will also apply it on the left short side. This final piece will connect with the other two sides. Again, make sure you have a nice alignment and connection. This will complete your actual construction. After this, we need to work on making it stronger and give it a finished look. My first step in this process is to secure the corners. I will cut a piece of tape estimating the length so that it will stick out on top and bottom for about ½ inch. I will stick this piece on the corner and fold it over to the other side. Once I have done this, I will cut the tape from one side towards the corner. Do this from both sides to create a triangle. You don't want to cut out the piece. Now you can fold the pieces over. I like to start with the middle piece and follow with the two side pieces. Repeat this for the top. You want to try and get close to the corner for the top side so it folds over nicely. Use a bone folder to push it in the corners for a nice finish. The tape is very forgiving, so any folds can be burnished flat. Repeat this process for all 4 corners. Now that the corners are secured on the outside, we can do the same on the inside. I cut a piece estimating it slightly smaller than the height of the sides. Since the tape is so thin, I won't bother to angle these pieces. I am folding it in half with the sticky side facing out and try my best to push it in the corner. Again, the tape is forgiving, so I will burnish any folds I create. However, if you are using cardstock or simply want to be more precise, you can angle the pieces to reduce bulk in the corners of your box. You cut from the folded edge inwards to angle. I don't like to do this because this will make my scissors very sticky and all the little pieces stay behind on them, but it definitely helps with reducing bulk. After this, we can focus on cleaning up the inside. I will cut my tape by laying it over the box, lining one side up with the inside edge of the box. Then on the other side I will cut the tape again following the inside edge. If you use cardstock, you measure from inside edge to decide your measurement for your hinge. Again, you can angle your pieces to reduce bulk in the overlapping parts of the corner. Personally, I again was too lazy to take this step. If using cardstock, I again recommend taking the time to angle your hinges. Fold your piece in half with the sticky part facing out. I like to stick it on the bottom first, then use a bone folder to push it in the corner and then onto the side. Repeat this on all 4 sides. All that is left is to finish of the top edge of the box. For this, I place the tape on the edge, trying to even out the overhang on both sides. I cut it from inside edge to inside edge. This time I cut it a bit shorter than intended, but that is okay. I will just readjust to center it. For this step I will take the time to angle the pieces. Mainly because due to the angle I will cover up most of the edges with my pattern paper during the decorating process. On the inside I now also have to start thinking about the bulk because the layers of tape start adding up. Once angled, I can use my bone folder to go over the outer edge before folding the tape over. Is this necessary? I don't know, it is just something I always intend to do. Again, repeat this for all 4 sides. From here I continue with cardstock. I am using a simple black to create a clean base, but you can use any color or pattern paper if you like. To decide on the measurement, you measure from inside edge to inside edge. Then also the height, go slightly smaller than your actual measurement. My pieces ended up slightly under 4¼ inches by slightly under 7/8 inch. For the base I won't bother cutting a piece to cover the bottom. This will be covered up with our main accordion piece later on. For the lid I will repeat this process of measuring inside to determine my cardstock. For the bottom I cut a piece that is slightly under 4½ inches by slightly under 4½ inches. For the lid I will cover the bottom because at this stage I don't know if I will decorate this or not. After measuring the height I will cut my side pieces. These ended up being slightly under 4½ inches by slightly under 3/4 inch. To adhere the bottom, I prefer to use a combination of double-sided tape and wet glue. I will cover the edges with 1/4 inch tape and fill in the middle somewhat. Now I will add my wet glue on top and fill in the empty spaces. Drop it onto the bottom and give it a good burnish. This helps preventing any visible lines of the dry glue and helps with adhering the double-sided tape. The side pieces I will use wet glue only. Normally I would like to use tape on the edges, however I feel that the wet glue adheres better on the tape I used for constructing the box compared to the double-sided tape. Again, make sure you give it a good burnish. But be careful not to move the piece. Mine is a bit slippery, so I need to hold it in place while burnishing. You repeat this for all 4 sides. Before placing your glue on your final piece, give it a dry fit. You might need to cut it a hair shorter due to the bulb created on either side. This will give us a nice finished look on the inside of the box. Place your side pieces for the base in the same way. This will complete your box. We can now place the lid on the base and test the fit. I still have some nice space for movement, which is perfect because I will place pattern paper on the outside of the base. This will take up space and gives me the perfect fit once finished. Now we can start with creating the accordion piece that will go in the box. I have cut my 3 pieces to size. For this I have used 1 piece of cardstock, which was possible due to the color code on one side, which makes the paper about 12.5 inches long. Since this will be at the back, I don't mind this. Piece 1 measures 4 1/8 inches by 11 5/8 inches. We are going to score this piece with the 11 5/8 inches side on top. For it, 4 1/8 inches, 4 1/4 inches, 7 3/8 inches, 7.5 inches, 10 5/8 inches and 10 3/4 inches. Make sure you give it a good score since most score lines are close together, which can make folding on them tricky. The second piece measures 4 1/8 inches by 9 1/4 inches. Save your cutoff from this piece, we will use it later. Score with the 9 1/4 inches side on top. Score at 4 1/8 inches, 4 1/4 inches, 8 3/8 inches and 8.5 inches. The third piece measures 4 1/8 inches by 12 inch. If like me you are using the 1 piece of cardstock with a code at the back, make sure this is your third piece. In that way most of the code and writing will be hidden. We will score with the 12-inch side on top. Score at 3 1/8 inches, 3 1/4, 6 3/8, 6.5, 7 1/8 inches, 7 3/4 inches and 7 7/8 inches. For constructing, I will start with the third piece and work my way back to piece 1. To make it easy to recognize later, I will label the back. This is what we will glue into the box when we are ready to do so. I will start with folding on all my score lines. In order to create a clean fold, I fold towards the bumpy side, which is the side that comes up from the cardstock. Later I will refold the ones that need to go in the other direction. Just make sure that your side edges line up nicely before burnishing the fold. The score lines that are 1/8 inch separated from each other can be a bit tricky to fold, so make sure to take your time on these ones. Once folded on all the score lines, I will place the back on my work surface. Now I will refold the piece to make it go in the correct direction. This means that the first 2 score lines need to be folded to the right side. Again, I will burnish the fold to help with making the piece work smooth in the end. The next fold is the first score line we meet from the folded edge on the left side. We can simply pull back on this one since the fold is already correct. Again, I burnish this fold. You can never burnish too much. Now again we'll fold the 2 score lines that are close together to go to the right side. Now the last 2 folds are already going in the right direction, so we can leave them. This completes the folding on piece 3. It should look like this. From here we continue with piece 2. Again, I start with folding and burnishing all my score lines towards the bumpy side. This 3/4 inch part here at the end is what we will use to connect to piece 3. I will apply double-sided tape on this part and combine it with my wet glue. You can also use wet glue only if you prefer. Make sure that your adhesive is not going over the score line. Using some scissors, I will taper the edges to hide the construction. Placing my scissors at the first score line, I will cut with an angle. Make sure you don't cut into your score line. Now I fold the score line to the other side since it has to go in that direction. I figured it would be easier to do now compared to after connecting the pieces. When connecting, the 3/4 inch piece will go behind piece 3. When placing it again, make sure you don't go over the score line. After removing my tape backing, I will add some wet glue on top. This provides me with some time to line up the pieces. I am a bit out of practice, so this will help me for sure. My piece is sticking out a bit on top. I find this annoying, but trying to fix this at this stage would probably only make it worse. I decide to leave it as is. I continue with folding so all the pieces go in the correct direction. At this stage we have completed this part. It should look like this. Last is piece 1. Again we will use the 3/4 inch part on the left side to connect the piece to piece 2. I repeat my steps with the tape and the tapering of the edges. Then I fold and burnish on all my score lines towards the bumpy side. Before attaching I will again refold the score lines since it is easier at this point. After attaching, fold on the other score line to make the piece go towards the right-hand side. As you can see, it becomes a bit tricky to keep everything on your work surface at this point. The last 2 folds have to be refolded to go to the right-hand side. We have now connected all the pieces. It has become quite long. Again, an overview of what your folds should look like. It will be placed in the box with the part that is labeled back, glued to the bottom of the base. At this stage I like to give it a dry fit to make sure it all works. I have saved my cut of piece when cutting piece 2 to size. This left me with a piece that measures 4 1/8 inches by 2 3/4 inches. I will use this piece to add to the project and gives me a flap to pull on in order to pull out the accordion from the box. With the 2 3/4 inches side at the top I will score at 2 1/8 inches. Here you see me scoring at 2 1/4. However, later I changed it to make it work better with my 6 by 6 inch pattern paper. I decided to place my tape on the bumpy side of the piece. Now fold towards that bumpy side, this way the tape ends up on the inside. I will adhere the piece behind the top flap of the accordion. Again, align it and make sure that you don't go over your score line. Now that I have attached this flap, I feel that it's more natural to pull the whole piece towards the left-hand side. Now I will place my tape at the back of the piece. Remember, this is the part we have labeled in the beginning. It is much easier to do this now compared to when the piece is decorated. Again, I like to go around the perimeter of the piece and fill in the middle with a few pieces as well. You can see now how little of the writing on the back is still visible at this point. Again, I like to double check if everything is working to my liking. I am not gluing the piece in at this stage. I prefer to first decorate and glue it in once that is all done. I will be using some die sets to create photo mats. However, you can also simply cut some cardstock to size, or place your photos in directly if you already have them. I love using these dies because they have a nice stitched edge. This gives texture to the project. Also, I just love the look. This completes constructing the project. Next, you can start decorating. I will start with decorating the box. This process I will show in a separate video. However, I will show you how I have glued the finished piece in the box. At this stage, I have finished decorating my pieces. I will give you a quick view of what I have done. I have used some dies to help me with the final details of the project. I am showing you what I have used in case you are interested. I am now ready to glue the accordion into the box. I double check that I have the base. My base doesn't have a specific front, so the direction doesn't matter for me. After removing the tape backings, I add wet glue to make sure that I have a nice coverage of adhesive. Now carefully I drop the back in the box. Make sure there is nothing hanging out or gets caught under the piece. Once in place, I give a gentle push on the corners and any other spot I can safely do so without damaging my project. Preferably, I would give it a few minutes to dry before pulling on the piece. However, I want to check if I can pull it out in a smooth manner. Here I was trying to prevent the string to stick out. However, it doesn't really matter, it will just fold in once I close it. On the lid I added some wooden heart shapes. I found these recently in an online shop and felt they were perfect for this project. This completes my project. I hope you enjoyed it and will try to create one of your own.